Hopefully we all remember how to do these simple questions on the class opener. They're equations. And how do you solve these equations? Well, you got to get x by itself. And the thing is, we have fractions. And how do you get rid of a fraction? You simply do the opposite of what you see. So right here it says x divided by 2. So if you want to get rid of the divided by 2, you do the opposite of dividing by 2, which is multiplying by 2, which will cause it to cancel. As long as you do it to both sides, you're good. Because what you do to one side of an equation, you must do to the other. So of course the answer is x equals 16. We all know this stuff. Number 2, again, you don't want the divided by 3, so you're going to multiply by 3. Multiply by 3, it cancels. You get 2x equals 12, which means that x equals 6 when you solve it. Number 3, you have that fraction. How do you get rid of that fraction? You multiply everything by the denominator 5. So you're going to multiply by 5, multiply by 5, multiply by 5. I'm talking about everything is multiplied by 5. That way the 5's cancel. You're going to have 2x plus 15x equals 5. And of course you could combine the 2x with the 15x and get 17x equals 5. And your final answer will be x equals 5 over 17. So this was a review of Algebra 1. And of course, the idea is to cancel out fractions by multiplying everything by the denominator. So when we move on to this first part of our notes, what we're doing is solving equations. And these are special types of equations. We have two fractions that are equal to each other. All right? So whenever you have a fraction equal to another fraction, you could use what we call cross multiplying. Right? And what is cross multiplying? It's taking this guy and multiplying it by this guy and then setting it equal to this guy times this guy. So you're cross multiplying. Okay, so you end up with 3 parentheses 4x plus 5 equals 9 parentheses x plus 1. So again, it's called cross multiplying. And you could only cross multiply when you have a fraction equal to another fraction. It's not when you're multiplying fractions. It's not when you're adding or subtracting or dividing. You only cross multiply when you have one single fraction equal to another fraction. Right? Now, you cannot do that on this part of our notes because you don't have a fraction equal to a fraction. You have a fraction equal to other things, two fractions in this case. Or on this one right here, you don't have a fraction equal to a fraction. You have a fraction equal to a fraction and then another number. So you cannot cross multiply on those situations. You can only cross multiply when you have one fraction equal to another fraction. So yeah, you cross multiply 3 times that equals 9 times that. And if you work it out correctly, you get 12x plus 15 on the left side, and you get 9x plus 9 on the right side. And if we keep solving, we're going to subtract 9x, subtract 9x, and I have run out of space, but let me move this up here. So we end up with a 3x plus 15 equals 9, and of course we're going to subtract 15. Subtract 15. We're going to end up with our final simplified equation 3x equals negative 6, which means that x equals negative 2 because you divide by 3 here and you divide by 3 there. So you end up with x equals negative 2. That is a negative right there in front of the 2. Any questions? Moving on to this next one. How about we try this together right now? I want to put the video on pause and then I'll start working on it. So here we go. We're going to set this up. Cross multiplication. Negative 4 times x minus 3 equals 5 times x plus 3. And when you distribute, you're going to get negative 4x plus 12 equals 5x plus 15. And now we want to get x by itself on one side. I want to add 4x. That way I end up with a positive 9x. Add 4x to both sides. I'll end up with a positive 9x down here. However, I might as well do two steps in one for the sake of space. I'm also going to subtract 15 and subtract 15. So my equal sign still comes down, straight down. And 12 take away 15 is negative 3. So this is my new simplified equation. All I need to do is get the x by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. So my final answer is x equals negative 3/9, which reduces down to negative 1/3. So let's give you guys some time to try. Give you guys some time to try this last one on your own. I'll pause it, and of course, I will work on it so you guys could verify your answer in a bit. Okay, here we go. So in order to solve this equation that has a fraction equal to another fraction, we will set it up with cross multiplication. It's going to be 3 times x minus 7 equals 5x times 2, or 2 times 5x. It doesn't really matter which order you put it. On the left side, we're going to distribute and get 3x minus 21. On the right side, we get equals 10x. And let's solve this thing by getting x by itself on one side. I'm going to subtract 3x and subtract 3x. So I will end up with negative 21 equals 7x, which means that if I divide by 7 on both sides, I get x equals negative 3. Got it? You know what? There's a very important detail I've been forgetting to mention on this video. Whenever you do get an answer and you have an equation with fractions in it, if this answer causes your denominator to become 0, then this would be an extraneous solution and it would not be the correct answer. Does that make sense? For example, if this said, instead of it saying x minus 7, if it said x plus 3, well then if you plug in the negative 3 and the x plus 3 and the negative 3 would cancel out, then you would say that this is an extraneous solution and you wouldn't actually say that negative 3 is your answer. So always remember to go back and check your answers and see if they cause your fraction to become undefined. So quickly, let's just take a look up at this one. This one is fine because the only thing that would mess this up would be a negative 3 right here or a positive 3. And this answer is not negative or positive 3. If we look up at this one, example 1, the answer negative 2 is fine because the only thing that would mess this up would be a negative 1 or a negative 5/4 if you were to solve that. So all of these answers have been fine. You don't have to worry about extraneous solutions on those. So anyway, I hope we get an understanding on how to cross multiply. This is the first part, the first video, the first part of our notes. But remember, cross multiplying will only work when you have a single fraction equal to a single fraction. Only one fraction on each side of the equal sign. It will not work when you have more than one fraction on each side. So right here, cross multiplying will not work because there's a fraction, another fraction, and then there's something else. Okay? Right here, it's not going to work because there's a fraction equal to another fraction, but there's something else. The only time cross multiplication works is if you have a fraction equal to a fraction. So I'll discuss how to do these other ones on the next video.